All right, just bringing you guys in. And I will... For some reason, my green screen does not want to cooperate on Zoom these days. So I have this beautiful little green twinge or tweak or sheen. I don't know what the word is behind me. How are you, Mr. McIntyre?
Muted, Phil.
Muted.
There it is.
Doing well. Thanks. How you doing?
All right, we're just getting everyone in. I will end the show. So welcome to the after show. The after show is where the audience basically gets to seek and wreak revenge on me for all my sins.
Let me get my list. I got my list out. Hang on.
You got 2 mentions today in Vermont from John. You got Vermont Teddy Bear and you got Ben and Jerry's.
Yes, yeah, Ben and Jerry's. Can't go wrong there, right?
Yeah, we went up to Snow Mountain one year. Mount Snow? Yeah, I guess so. What was it? No.
Stowe?
Stowe, yeah, Stowe. Jeez. And the lift operator. The lift operator worked at Ben and Jerry's, and he was giving out ice cream because they basically got like they would get like six pints or whatever every week, and they were so sick of ice cream at that point that they were just throwing it at people's heads.
That's funny. Unilever is the company that bought them. And, with hindsight, I can say that it was really a good thing for the state, for employment and all that. They were able to really be funded in a way that, and managed in a way that offered opportunity for continued growth and for local jobs, which in Vermont is a really critical thing. So,
yep.
And Vermont Teddy Bear Company, I just threw that in, Joseph, because you mentioned that today was Hug Your Teddy Bear Day or whatever it was.
Take your teddy bear to
company.
What's that?
How big is Vermont Teddy Bear? I heard it on Howard Stern.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So it is a locally owned Vermont-based business, and they. I was thinking of it from the startup standpoint. The way they did it was they just started small. Built, invested in themselves, invested in themselves.
Yep.
And now you hear about them on Howard Stern's radio show. So yeah, great place to work. Employment is mostly at home now because of the
They probably didn't third-party Trumpy Bear.
No, I don't think they did. You could do a quick search on their site. But boy,
that might be a little like especially out of Vermont.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Although we just not me, but others voted for the incumbent Republican governor, and the former or soon to be former lieutenant governor is a progressive Democrat, and they never met in the last 4 years. It was just unbelievable. And so what did they do? They hired him again for another 2 years. Drives me crazy. Anyway, not why we're here.
Yep.
So while the others get settled in, what do you guys think about? And then we will focus on Mr. Biggs today. What do you think about my guest on Wednesday? I had a cancellation. And so I just reached out to him and he said, yes, this is the guy who, as I said, has successfully predicted every single election since, I guess, 82, using his 13 keys to the White House.
And did he get it right? Get it right this
time? Did. He did, but you'll find out about it on Wednesday. It was 7-6. So you need 7 affirmatives, I think, and Trump only got 6. But it was close. And he said the only caveat was, well, you'll hear about it on Wednesday. He said the only caveat was voter suppression or foreign interference might, because these are 2 things that the model didn't account for. But anyway, I think it'll be really interesting.
Well, I would be interested in if a group of investors were looking at his model, if they would be interested in investing in it or find the model to be just another model that's something that's formulaic, and of course it's going to be right most of the time.
Well, I mean, I wonder if he's, and maybe there's a better question, which is to connect him with John today, which is,
Yeah.
is there a 13 keys to getting funded or 13 keys to being successful as a
I don't
startup?
know. I don't know if there's. I don't know. Though I remember there used to be a couple of those books that were like, here are the 12 keys to being being funded, all that other good stuff, and that was a popular trope with the academics in terms of writing those things out. I think it's gotten a lot harder to really predict, and like you said, there's things you do, your execution, and then there's luck, and building on that luck. Or at least we could only have to call it luck. We just have to call it the moment of execution. At what point do you decide that to pull the trigger and quit the day job and build something out? It's like the guys at Compaq, for example. The guys at Compaq started the business while they were at Texas Instruments. I think they were still there. They got together in afternoons and weekends, and they just hung out. They had dinner together. They drew out the first Compaq portable computer on a napkin, and they said, "This is what we want it, how big we want it to be." And when they got ready to go, they all quit they quit slowly but surely. They quit over at TI. So that kind of tells you exactly how to do it. You basically don't put all your don't put all your eggs in one basket immediately. Be ready to pivot, be ready to change, and always have some kind of cash coming in, because the worst thing to do is to go to a VC hungry. If you want to think about it in those terms, because they can smell it and they know either you're hungry and you need the cash and you're not going to get it, or they give you the cash and the terms are bad. So
basically what you're saying is don't show any blood, because they're like piranhas.
I mean, be human about it. Be human about it in terms of the interaction. You don't have to be completely you have to completely separate yourself from the process. But when you're in a position without power, then they know it, and they know when to strike.
I really love that idea again of power, because clearly the implication is, even though you don't have power in the form of money, what power can you in fact bring to a VC to at least appear to be on an equal footing, or not demonstrate that hunger? I don't know what the answer is. There might not be an answer. It might just be, hey, you are going to go hungry, and just deal with it.
I mean, the interesting thing is that if you worked in whatchamacallit, for example, if you went to Stanford, for example, you immediately get that power. Because all the VCs who went to Stanford, they see that as sort of a signifier of your skill. And the same thing goes for MIT or Carnegie Mellon or wherever. If you come with them with that thing preset, then a lot of that power is on your side, because they understand that, okay, well, this guy got into Stanford and was built a startup there, so that's pretty wild, and we know that guy's, and we call that social proof, right? That's right. That's the concept of you being cooler than you might look physically or emotionally.
I was thinking during the show about a friend of mine and it's a classic one, who was he loved cooking and decided he needed to open his own restaurant, and quickly realized, like anybody that does that there's a lot more to running a restaurant than being the chef. And that's why so many of them, come and go so quickly, but I guess. And I wonder how people who are chefs, if you will, and have the dream of having their own restaurant, their own business. You were talking about, in a sense, a plug and play formula for how to do that and put all those pieces together. I can't imagine that wouldn't be a popular topic for anybody who's striving to start a business that they know they can't. I mean, I'm seeing it with Joseph. I'll give you this example. He is creating some really great content. He's creating a great community. And in order to really amp it up, it's going to take more than just him. And so I guess it's hard to know exactly what your needs are until you get your feet wet in it. And
Well, I'll answer
Yeah.
it just based on the advice that we got from John today. One is, if you treat it like a business, you'll be paid like it's a business. Two is, don't just go and, ask, be careful what you wish for, right? You want to just go and get money. Well, at what cost, at what price will that money come? The third is, have a clear vision and plan for where you want it to go down the road and long term. And in this case, for example, follow the formula, which is the process, which is being very, very clear, because it's almost like, what I took away from this, what I loved is, you can be the dreamer. It's the 50-50, right? The 50% listen, 50% reject. 50% of me is going to dream and think big and aspirationally and think creative. But either I have to balance myself out with 50% pragmatic, practical, tactical, operational, put your head down and sweat the small stuff, or take on a partner who's going to be able to do that. So that's how that's some of the ways that you actually sit down and say, there's a lot of, it's the stuff in the sausage factory that no one wants to see how it gets made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I talked about my startups. The one thing that a lot of startups don't have is somebody who can do operations on a daily basis.
Right.
My wife sits downstairs at the dining room table and runs the operations for these things. I come in and Don Draper the whole thing by being by just like getting the customers. But once we have the customers, she actively has to talk to them and make sure that they're happy and cash their checks and send out the invoices and everything. And we really don't have, if you don't have that person, if you're not that person, then you have to either find that person who wants to do that grunt work, or you have to become that operator.
Right.
And it's really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. So that's the point. I mean, lots of people draw pictures of a compact computer on a napkin. Few do anything with it, and it's because, or they do something with it and fail because they didn't realize that they needed to be able to send out bills.
Right. That's also timing and luck. That's why, again, I tell founders when I do the session, I say there are plenty of ultra crap ideas that have done really, really well at Facebook. Well, that's just how I delivered it. But there are also 4 ideas better than yours that will never see the light of day and get funded.
Exactly.
And that is just like tough luck. Welcome to life.
How much does the adage of the 3 C's in commercial banking lending, cash flow, collateral, what's the third, John?
I don't know. What are these? I don't think I've ever heard of these.
Candy.
Character. It's where they're evaluating the X factor. So, what percentage in, the startup funding world do VCs or private equity or bankers look at taking bets on people?
I think a lot of it. So the way the VC works is you basically have an associate who does the grunt work, goes out and searches the person, and that's mostly the character, let's say. And it's not character in the. I think there's a different view of character that was kind of inspired by the man in the gray flannel suit sort of situation, the 50s and 60s, that kind of continued up until about the 80s. Then you had the Wolf of Wall Street sort of folks who were who if you did a line of cocaine and then played golf with them, which is very indicative of our current president. That was the way you did business back then. Now character is all about having the right people on your team, and it's always a hacker, it's a hustler, and a hacker, hustler, and designer, or hacker, hustler, and hipster. There we go. Hacker, hustler, and hipster. Yeah. So
I thought you were going to say candy again.
No. It took a minute.
I was about to. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a minute.
I was going to say another H, but that goes into the other book.
No, it is. That's great. Hacker, hustler, and hipster.
Yeah. So you need somebody who can make your deck look really good. That's immediately going to get the attention of some young associate.
Right, the sizzle.
Yeah. So you got your sizzle. Then you need your hacker who's actually going to code the thing that makes it work. So that's going to get you past the associate into the second level, which is the partners. And the hustler is the guy who goes in and talks to the partners and basically convinces them to invest. So the vast majority of time, everybody gets stopped because they only have one or two of those people
Right.
at the associate level. So we've pitched multiple people. We actually pitched it Andreessen Horowitz. We talked to this kid that I knew from TechCrunch. He was like, he was happy to have me in because I guess he was lonely. He wanted somebody to talk to. So I go in and talk to him, but we couldn't get past the gate. It was amazingly frustrating, and we didn't know it at the time. We didn't see what we were missing because we didn't have a hustler. We didn't have somebody who was going to be saying, okay, dude, if you don't invest today, we're gone, and mean it and make it seem like that argument would hold water ultimately with the partners.
I want to ask you, who is that?
Well, that was me.
Well then, Joey, you trump me any day.
No, thank you, sir.
Have you
I
bought
just
his
wanted
book
to
yet,
kind of follow back on what you said, just so I understood your point of view. You mentioned that the founders themselves can be replaced, because I spent 20 years in the ad biz, and then the last 3 of my career as a CRO, hired by startups to be a hustler. So I actually went out and raised money, and I don't think I've ever dislike something as much as that in my life.
It's the worst.
It was awful. And so the founders that I worked for, and we raised, between the 3, and we raised 3 or 4 million. And that's all I did as a CRO. It was put together pro forma decks for investors and go out and meet the Andreessen Horowitz of the world. I spent a lot of time on Sand Hill Road, and there were 2 different schools of thought, or maybe even more than that, in the sense that everyone wanted a founder like Zuck, right? Or Elon, or somebody that was just so enigmatic and so charismatic and so powerfully smart. Do you believe that is no longer the trend? Or is it kind of a historical thing with these it's a
2000s trend, early 2000 2010. I mean, what did TechCrunch Disrupt very specifically do? They taught the world how to do a global pitch. Everybody in the world that I've talked to, I can go anywhere in the world. I can go to Singapore, I can go to Belarus, I can go to Warsaw, and I can go to Kansas City. Everybody has the exact same pitch. At this point, they don't need you to build their deck for them because they basically know what a deck looks like. But to tell that story is very difficult. And the issue with those enigmatic founders is they're enigmatic and they're really cool and FOMO inducing until they go nuts, right? That's happened multiple times. One of my easiest checks that I ever got was from this guy who came into our quote unquote office that we were getting for free from some dude downtown Brooklyn. He was a finance guy that our I guess we could call her our CFO was brought in to talk to us. I was busy probably just like trying to fix something in Bootstrap on an HTML code or something like that. I wasn't really doing anything very important, but I was focused on that. And I didn't really talk to this investor guy, but he saw me as like this gnomic heads down founder who was like, oh yeah, what's going on? No, don't worry about it. Immediately he wrote a $25,000 check for the product. Simply because I kind of stayed out of the situation, and having access to me as this important founder was far more important and far more interesting than anything else. The moral of that story is that, yeah, that works. And a guy like you going in and being the CRO and talking a good line, and then bringing in some weird nerd who knows how to code or whatever, works. It still works. But I also think that whole hacker, hustler, hipster situation is vitally important, because you have to have somebody like you who can talk, and you have to have somebody who's always going to be coding all day. And but the guys who code all day are not always the guys to run the company, not always the guys to be the CEO. And a lot of PhDs and nerds and all that other stuff, the guys who really know how to code, essentially can't pull it off because they don't have those skills.
It's very interesting to me that in a way, what TechCrunch Disrupt really did was they just created the McDonald's of pitching, right? Which is, it was
Yeah.
and it was also a formula that, as you say, that could work in any franchise or any country.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you almost like it's almost like a dumb question. But it's one that maybe a child would ask. The first question, which I feel like I am a child sometimes. I should have asked this.
And I unfortunately have to go in like 2 minutes, so let's just finish. So let's do that. And
All right, I'll ask quickly. Is it
Sure.
easy? How easy is it to get funded? Period. Because I could cite 7 different startups that I'm talking to right now, and they're
Yeah.
all lamenting about how hard it is.
it's impossible to get funded for the first time, and then it's all too easy to get funded for the second time. It's the hardest thing in the world to get to raise, I don't know, $500,000 for a first time founder. If you raise that thing and you're able to do an exit, or you're able to do something that is that's visibly shows that your ability to maintain fiduciary responsibility of an amount of cash that these investors want you to have, then the next startup, even if it's the worst startup in the world, is going to raise in seconds. And it's really, really frustrating, obviously, if you have a brand new idea that's way better than some other dude's second idea, and you can't get funded. You're gonna be angry, and you're gonna be frustrated, and that's the situation. And it's always going to be thus. It's the social proof. Again, we go back to the social proof. I've already I think about this one guy who started a fintech company with his buddies. He raised a bunch of cash for this fintech company, and then he started a blockchain blog. This guy had no business doing anything in media, but he was able to raise 10 million bucks at the drop of a hat, simply because he had already done something before, and they figured, okay, well, the horse ran fast this race, it might run fast the next race. But if nobody knows how fast you can run, or what your skills are, they're not going to give you the cash.
What do you feel about when people talk about smart money and stupid money?
In what respect?
Like, the downside of Silicon Valley and Palo Alto, and the evaluations that are crazy, that crash and burn. There's a phenomenon in money raise, certainly, that there could be chapters on what smart money is, what strategic money, and just what dumb money is, chasing, and basically people going to the casino.
I mean, look, all VC, all investment is the product of degenerate gamblers. These guys know that these guys want to get a hit every time. Vast majority of the time they don't do it, and they know that the house takes all the cash. How do you optimize that experience? How do you optimize that process to make sure that you don't lose your money every single time? And that's what a lot of these guys, we could call that smart money, right? But at the end of the day, you're rolling a die, and you're putting down a card, or you're picking some guy or some woman based on how serious they seem about a particular topic and how deeply you want to get into that topic. If you see a trajectory for a certain technology, and you see somebody working in that technology, that's sometimes enough to call a bet smart, because you don't know anything else about that technology. 3D printing, for example. Everybody knew 2008 3D printing was going to be the future. Is me being able to print Star Wars figurine stands the future? No. But there's still a lot to be done there. And if I was an investor in MakerBot early on, I would have made millions, because I bet on something that was nascent and brand new early on, and is now pretty much established, but didn't take off like a rocket ship. It took off more like a cruise liner. So.
Well, John, I know you have to dash. Tom, you've never been this quiet since I met
just
you.
going to say that.
Do you want to just show him your notes before he goes?
I decided to give everybody else a
long weekend.
Here's my notes I took today. It goes to the back as well. I was going to ask John, but he has to go. But here's a question that, if you're ever interested in coming back and reflecting on it, it fascinates me that you're a guy invested in both the future and the past with your watch interest. I mean, here you are with tech.
It's all about the future and startups. That's even more the future. Look at Phil there. But then the watch blog and the interest in watches, that's the past, right? And that's something wonderful about the past. I was just interested in that paradox of the two sides.
I had the same question, Tom. Brilliant.
Yeah. Real quick. My love of watches stems from the fact that they're probably the most perfect representation of the industrial age.
Yeah.
Possible. They were our highest echelon of mechanical manufacturing, outside of maybe like Turing's machines that were kind of mechanical to a degree.
Yeah.
But like a watch on your wrist, I mean, I'm wearing my Rolex Explorer right now, and Ben Franklin could come back to life right now and see the Rolex Explorer and understand exactly what it was and how it worked and why it was important. Whereas everything else would be complete magic to him. So we hit a point in our evolution, just at the edge of industrialization, when we're creating the highest heights of microtechnology, using tools that were most at super primitive. So
yeah, I'm the same way, John. By the way, today I've got on my JLC.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, I just sold a JLC. I got a Breguet coming in today.
Is the wristwatch dead, John?
No, it's not dead. It's only us nerds like them. That's the issue. But
I mean, would you teach your son or daughter to be a watch repair person?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's always gonna. It's like being a undertaker.
Right, or VCR repairman.
Yeah, there's maybe not a VCR repairman, but a guy, somebody who understands electronics. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's millennials today with their iPhones. No one goes out and buys a wristwatch these days.
I wonder though if that's going to change again, because I saw the very same thing, Phil. I saw in my kids. It used to be my son when he was in high school. He had, he would wear great watches, and then he got into his 20s and 30s and he stopped wearing watches. I think he's starting back again now in his late 30s. So
it comes back. It's cyclical. All right, guys. I have to run. But I appreciate these questions.
Thanks for being with us.
All right, guys. We'll
start. John.
Thanks a lot.
John, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, don't ever do that again, Tom Morris. Keep quiet. I feel like you were sulking.
No, I was just giving everybody else because, it's funny. My story, having left Notre Dame to be an entrepreneurial philosopher, I would never have taken startup money from anybody. So this was a new thing for me, and I just wanted to listen. I just wanted to hear what you guys all had to say. I've actually had people offer to join me in my business with the idea of building it up to sell. And that to me struck me also as just the weirdest thing. I would not want to do that.
Built to sell is better than built to suck. That's my first piece of advice.
Right, I was sticking with that, right? I was sticking with that concept.
I still spend a lot of my time with startups and mentoring. I love it. It gives me a lot of life force and energy, but one of the things everything I said in my soliloquy is from the heart is like, I literally did almost shuttered my first business because of cash flow. I had no idea. And the thing that you realize is clients don't pay on time. And a word is not a bond. And even when that contract is signed, they can still figure out a way to cancel it on you, as they often do. And, and it's so amazing to hear how he speaks about his own industry, right? Whether it's vampires, vultures, parasites, leeches, piranhas, sharks. But this is the world you live in. But I will tell you one thing. The final thing I would say to you, Tom, about what I did learn is 100% of nothing is nothing. And, founders make all these mistakes, right? You need an NDA. I won't tell you about my idea until you see the NDA, and embargoed press release, and not giving up equity. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, you rather give away some equity, get one of those, hacker hustlers, or, I don't know what the other one was, hacker hustler or hipster. And round out the perfect team, and create that dynamic. And I also loved what Phil added. You're right. What was it? Character?
Yeah.
What were the other two?
Yeah. I mean, they always say when you're and my entrepreneurial experiences when talking to bankers to try to, secure loans or funding or increase your credit lines, the bankers look at the best judge of future performance is past performance. And, you know, the 3 C's of cash flow, which is easy to bank against, collateral, which is somewhat more interpretive, but the most nebulous interpretive is that character quotient, which those that really knock it out of the park with investments are the ones that are the people that know how to measure risk and character. That is in an elite percentage. So that's just, I think, the fundamental element to entrepreneurialism, and then, you know, selling your wares and raising money is the sales piece. You know, how do you represent your idea above what is very analytically there in black and white, perhaps in spreadsheets and you know, binary.
So I'm gonna build on and I'm gonna build on both of these models, the 3C and the 3H model, and I'm gonna come up with a 4C and the 4H. So you have cash flow, you have collateral, you have character, and then the 4th C is obviously CoronaTV. And then with your H's, you've got your hipster, your hacker, your hustler, and the 4th one is your host.
Oh,
Made it work.
What were you thinking of?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me to get F ...
yeah,
right. Well, guys, thank you for your. This was great. Bob Farnham was on fire today. This shows you how to get Bob to show up. Just mentioned Vermont, and the guy's like got verbal diarrhea.
Vermont or money, yeah.
Can we get
money.
him as a sponsor of CoronaTV? Let's get Vermont Teddy Bear on here, Bob.
That's a great idea.
Come on.
Actually, yeah, maybe I can.
Let's pitch it.
That'd be an interesting idea.
Let's go. Report back to me tomorrow, gentlemen.
I'll be in touch. Thanks, Joseph. Great
All right,
episode.
guys.
Appreciate it.